Alrighty, we are live here on Nailing FX, the US session with me, Andrew Han. It's October 15th and it is 1 p.m. GMT, or it is 9 a.m. New York time, and it's actually 9 p.m. here in Singapore where I'm based out now. We've kind of switched out from Pedro, who used to be on Thursdays, but now he is on Tuesdays, and kind of swapped over there. Now, as you can see here, you can register for free membership to Trade with UFOs, where you can get more information about what we do at Trade with UFOs, more about the apps that we have, Auto UFOs and Auto Climate, as well as some of the courses that we run to kind of give a little bit of some training on how to use the apps that we have. Okay. Now, before we get started proper, there is of course, the disclaimer up there, which is just going to scroll through. Just follow that along. Okay, and here are those times again for October. So I am on FX Street today as well as next week. But I can be found on YouTube as well. So actually that should be also updated for November coming up. But you can also find OPA on Wednesdays, usually at 3 a.m. GMT time if you're up. Otherwise, if you're up in Asian time, that would equate to about 10 a.m. in Vietnam. And then, of course, Pedro is on Tuesdays now, so you can reach him at 1:30 p.m. GMT or 9:30 a.m. New York time. And then, of course, Ronaldo is on Fridays, just one session, usually a month. And if you want a full calendar, then, of course, you can always click on tradewithufos.com/nailingwithfx to get our full schedule. So if we just quickly do that, then it'll take you to our Trade with UFOs site, and of course you can see us here. Okay, so there is a course coming up, which I'm doing on October the 26th to the 30th. So we do have recordings available, and of course, and so you can just click info registration here. And also what we're doing there is we're giving 3 months complimentary access to our Auto UFOs for TradingView, for the trading purposes, but also because we know that people like to practice a lot and need to practice a lot. So we are doing that, and so those details are kind of here. Should be the 26th, not the 25th. And so usually it is for 3 hours, so over 5 days, over 3 hours. And then, of course, you can have access to all of our online training sessions that we do. And you will have access, as I said, to Auto UFOs, and it will remain active for 3 months, okay, just to, again, allow you to practice and practice and practice, okay. So what's going on? Let's move on to see what is going on in the markets. And what I kind of like to do first is just talk a little bit about the climate that we've been seeing. And it's kind of been down, down, down for the Aussie. And so the question is, do we have more showers ahead? You know, for the Euro, storm clouds are kind of brewing. It's kind of sunny there for a while, but then it's kind of moving to a little bit of rain. Pound has been, you know, giving us a little bit of sunshine, but is the sun still going to continue to shine with all the Brexit stuff that's going on? And then we have, of course, the dollar CAD, which had been heading down but has been moving up of late this week. And of course, the dollar yen, we have, you know, had been a bit of a downward move, but is there some move upwards, is there this flight to safety? Now, the big question, of course, is do I mean by safety, right? Do I mean it from the Japanese perspective, where they're pulling all their money back and therefore convert it back all into yen? Or are we talking about the US dollar in of itself? Okay, so it's going to be a question that we have. And of course, some of the things we need to be mindful of, the NOTAMs. So if you're kind of into flying, you know that NOTAMs mean notice to airmen, okay? And so commonly here, we want to look at, what's the news kind of coming out at the moment. So we've already had on Thursday and earlier in the week, Lagarde speaking, and also with the Aussie unemployment numbers coming out, and then coming into the remainder of this Friday, right? Lagarde is also talking again, but we also have retail sales. So some of these trigger events raises some questions around, well, are we going to have a rate cut ahead, for the Aussie? That's going to affect the Aussie. Is that going to push the Aussie down further? Is Lagarde, is she going to, say more about, what they're going to do in terms of, quantitative easing, keep on printing money on their end, or the central banks kind of easing, interest rates, even what can they really go any lower, and then for the Dixie, the dollar, are we going to have any surprise on the retail end, and so so what's going to be some of the drivers for the US dollar, which comes to our flight deck here. So what we want to take a look at is, hey, what is kind of on our radar, and what do we kind of have to have a look at? And so looking at the daily Dixie, the DXY, the US dollar index, it's kind of seeing that the climate is kind of neutral here. So if you look at the auto climate, we see here that it was down for a good period of time and confirmed down for a few days, but then yesterday it had moved up to an up climate, and then today we're kind of back to something a little bit more neutral. And for those of you who kind of follow me, you know that I like the 21 moving average, especially on the daily, to kind of give us a sense of, well, is price holding below that 21-day moving average, or is it holding above? And as we can see here, it's kind of, moved its way, trying to close a higher. We'll see if it closes higher today. But yesterday it still closed low. The day before it just almost managed to kind of close a little higher, but it is pushing that moving average a little higher, okay? And we are supported by this emerging uptrend now, right? And so if we also take a note of this downtrend line, which is now broken, right? What is that also going to tell us, right? And then if you follow the traditional classic ways of identifying trend, I mean, we have had this this higher low now set at 93, right? And and that is above that that low that had been set in back in early September, where we had this 91.70 low, right? We didn't manage to close below that 93 number here, right? And so we see prices really hovering around that area, 92.75, and so if we can see some strength to the upside in the dollar, right? We know that, hey, if we want to make a continuation of this trend on the daily, then we need to clear 94.75, right, in order to set a new high and keep that dollar trend moving higher, which it had emerged to seem to be wanting to do, right, over at least you know, September, towards your end of August, September, we start to see prices move higher, right? And so we had this somewhat of an impulse move higher, retracement or a corrective move down to 93, and so we really do need to see prices push higher. And so the question is, are we going to see that? And then the question is, well, where is it going to go? And so this is where the auto UFOs become very handy, where throwing them on here, we can see that now we have some buying interest, you know, buy orders potentially being identified down here at this above 93, and with a potential target of price moving towards this area up around above 95.50, maybe 95.75, where we would expect some selling interest to come in at those levels there, right? So is this where you know, the dollar index is heading? And clearly it will need to clear this 94.75 in order to get there. So it's going to, so the next really the next coming month is going to be important to see how this move into the dollar, whether it occurs, and whether there's a move out of of course the other currencies, as we've been seeing on the Aussie side. And as we've seen some of that pressure come into selling the euro, you know, of course there's interest buying to the pound because of Brexit, but overall is there this flight into US dollar as somewhat of a you know, safety, you know, considered as the reserve currency, safe currency, and will we see an emergence of you know, that move into other dollar-based assets such as bonds and U.S. Treasuries, you know, as the market kind of starts to cool, you know, maybe just temporarily, right? Because we do have, of course, the U.S. elections coming up, and that always has a degree of you know, interest and uncertainty around it anyway, right? So that's the dollar index. That's what's on deck at the moment. And as we look into now, this is not a position that we are looking at doing or having on this, just an example that we don't have any positions or orders at the moment. But going forward, I will be showing the opportunities that we had looked at here, and also reviewing how we have done you know, during these times that we have. And of course, it's going to be continued on in the YouTube sessions as well, so that, you know, every week, so that you have at least some continual sort of perspective of what's been going on with those markets that we had looked at during our time here. Okay, so at the moment we don't have any position orders, but we will be placing those here. And, you know, just in a simulated environment, assuming capital of 10,000, leverage of 100, and capital usage of 50% of our overall capital, and a risk of 1%, which equates to $100. So that's kind of the parameters that we'll be working with. And of course, you need to cater that to your own trading environment, what your broker allows you to do. Not all brokers allow leverage of 1:100. Some are a lot lower, but that is also subject to your regulatory environment. Okay, so so that's the deck for the moment. So let us go to the live markets here to see what is going on, what's been happening. Looks like dollar has pushed up, and so let's just start with the majors first to see what is going on here. Let's just maximize that so we can have a proper look. So as you can see here, the Aussie dollar has made quite a strong move lower, right? And so we are heading down towards this prior area of support and resistance, right? And if we do throw on the UFOs here on this daily time frame, just to get a sense of where we can expect some sell orders and buy orders to come in. So there's quite a lot of room to the downside, at least on the daily, for prices to move lower. So I'm just going to mark that out, at least on the daily. And then we've already got the sell orders where we just missed out. Prices didn't manage to get up there before moving lower, but probably more than likely on lower time frames there was some areas that you could have gotten into. So let's just move down to the 4-hour, and so here is where we're able to identify some areas of selling interest. So if we do manage to get back up to these areas, it could be an area that we may have interest in placing our own sell orders. Okay. For the moment, in terms of buy orders, let me just remove these just so that we don't get too distracted. All right. And so here we see some areas where price had gone into before. Okay. And that kind of originates from back here. So we expect prices to take a bit of a pause here as and maybe have a little turn of events to put in an maybe come back up to this area before proceeding back down. Okay, is one scenario, right? And in doing so, it puts in a proper lower high, and potentially could even rebound even deeper, right? And then for those who like those inverse, or those head and shoulders sort of patterns, right? It will indicate to them that there's some opportunities to go short, right? But temporarily, what we would do is probably look to see how whether price is able to hold at these levels here, and then start to move higher. So we wouldn't be looking to buy yet, since we are in a downtrend, have that preference to sell, right? But if we're going to be selling the Aussie, we're going to have to wait for price to come back up to at least the 71.25 area before we have any interest in selling. So I'm just going to mark that out here. Let's put in there 71.25 as an area of interest to sell, and if we have a maximum sort of point up here of, let's call it 71.75, and so that whole area, which is only 50 pips, right? You can easily put on a 50 pip opportunity there, right? And have that ready, right? So easily, if prices come back up here, rebound now, we could put like a 2-to-1. Okay, put a 2-to-1 here. Let's kind of firm up this 75 here. And I love this little feature now that TradingView has, where you can, once you've set your parameters here, you can just do a right click and create limit order. and there's just a demo account, right? I'm just using paper money here, okay? But if we are going to put $100 risk, right? The trade size, okay, is 20,000, which is a 0.2 in MT4 world, right? Now you can, and then you just, it's so easy now, right? You just place that there, and our orders will be there. I don't have the, I'll just turn on these trade settings so we can see the orders. Then you can see those orders placed there quite nicely, right? So it's going to give you a 2-to-1 there, right? So I'm going to put that in the log. All right, and what else do we have going on here? So Aussie moving down, want to remain short. More than likely with New Zealand going to be a similar type of scenario, right? Where we're looking for some sort of retracement. We did have, some New Zealand was a little stronger than Aussie, right? Kind of putting a bit of a rectangle, a bearish sort of rectangle there, right? So again, we'll see if we can have prices come up to say 66.40, right? And like this, with a stop up at this area here. That's 66.90. Right, a little bit more room, but that's also about 50 pips. And that looks like a pretty good opportunity right there. And again, kind of using these nice little features here. If we wanted to make that more like a 2-to-1, or maybe just above, depending on where the price comes down and it heads back up, we can still adjust this later, right? But that could be an interesting little 2-to-1. So let's make that 25 as a target there. And I'm going to get rid of this line here so it's a little cleaner. And create a limit order there. It's about $100 risk. Okay, and easy to place that right there. So of course, if you kind of look at Aussie and New Zealand as a similar, sort of behavior, then you can either go with either one of these, right? You can either go with the Aussie or the New Zealand opportunity, but we'll put both in there. See what's going on in the Euro. Similar sort of deal. Let me just remove these UFOs for the moment here. Okay, so we do have the daily. Okay, this is actually the daily 21 day moving average, and so we are kind of seeing it flatten out, and potentially it's a sideways move at the moment. But we really need to see prices clear below, 1610, and if we do see that, then we know that would be a confirmed, downtrend, since we have a high here, lower highs going on here. That's the lower low being set here, and so are we going to see a push? Further down to the euro. So that's why what Lagarde is going to say is going to be interesting for the euro to see if we have any further moves lower, going on there, and if we put a bit of a trend line going from this prior high down, to kind of guide our perspective, then that kind of gives us also a line in the sand, right, to see whether we will see continued down pressure on the euro, which does seem to be the case, right? And so again, let me just clear some of these. Just clear some of these so we can kind of start afresh. There's a lot there. Okay, then let's turn on our auto UFOs just to identify some of those areas of selling interest. So there's some here, and looks like we're coming into some areas of buy orders, right? So I'm not going to chase price, and that's always going to be part of the challenge, right? When you're kind of starting out trading, is sometimes you have this tendency to be a little bit impatient, and you don't wait for price to come back, right? And so this is part of why the apps are very useful, is because it at least guides you, right, of well, where is that buying interest going to come in, where is the selling interest going to come in, and just trade with that trend, right? You can't go wrong. Yes, we're gonna have to wait for price to come back up here again, but you know, just, we don't have any control over the market, so we need to let the market do its thing, and we can't force it, So we have these prior highs here that prices need to break in order to change that trend. But until that happens, right, we really just want to focus on the short side. So because price could, while there is indications that there are orders, buy orders here, right? Well, there's also buying interest down lower too, right? So it could be that prices, because there's that momentum to the downside, right? If that picks up, then you're going to have these buy orders being absorbed very quickly, or they're going to be removed, right? If there are any there, they could be removed by the various market players. So that's why it's always a better idea just to continue with the trend and just be patient, right? For prices to come back to these areas that are in alignment with the overall direction of the market, which is what it's telling you to do, right? So here, even on this 4-hour time frame, if we're just going to go for, say, a 2 to 1 sort of opportunity, again, we can look at it here. Let's set this up. So all the majors, right, are showing us this this downward pressure, right? And that's just with the strength of the dollar, and so we have another opportunity, and again, this could be the same trade in some regards, and so depending on how you want to play it, it could be just a selection, right, of just choosing, Aussie or New Zealand or Euro, right, to trade with. You don't have to do all of them, right? But I'm going to at least document them all, and then we will see next week how these trade opportunities kind of played out, right? See, pound's going to be a little different. Pound has been strong, right? Has been moving in a way that is pushing back up to the upside, and So let's just take a look where the UFOs are, what they're pointing out. So maybe let's just check the dollar side on the, on the daily. Nothing too much there. So we really only have this area. Let's go make it a little wider. Okay, and so this, of course, is going to be of interest since the whole number, but it hasn't held. You know, we've kind of tested a number of times, kind of broke through it again, broke through it again, broke through it again. So this area as a magnet is not really holding too well. So until we get closes above that 130 number, it's we're probably just going to get price gyrating around until probably Brexit becomes a little clearer on or how the politicians are really going to deal with Brexit in order to deal with that whole issue, right? So pounds probably a good one just to keep a watch out on, and if there are clear opportunities to kind of trade this, then go for it. But it seems like it's going through a bit of a roller coaster ride, so not a clean pair to play at the moment. Okay, so let's just finish off with the majors here. So here, we have seen. Let me just turn off the auto UFOs for the moment. So we had seen previously prices come down lower. We had breaks of prices. This is no continuation lower. We've seen previous support and resistance kind of get broken, and some tests to prior support and resistance areas. And this downward move here getting challenged. So is this an indication of maybe a change in weather, right? So we have had a strong move here, or a weakness in the Canadian dollar, but some strength in the dollar itself, right? So will we see this a clearer break of that trend line? And let's just take a look at where some selling pressure may come in. So this is where the auto UFOs is indicating this area here where there could be some selling. So I'm just going to repurpose this line to help us locate that, and then some buying interest down at this area here. Okay, so the question is, do we want to be buyers? Do we want to be sellers? And so on this time frame, we do have that downward pressure. So I probably still want to be, a bit of a seller, right, coming into this level. Okay, but also mindful of the fact that we did have a lower low, but here we had a higher low. Okay, so we just have to be careful, right, that if we're going to go short here, that we just set our expectations accordingly, right? Will we get a move to the downside? Is this just a retracement and then you've got a continuation lower? Well, we'll see. But we just have to be managing our stops a little tighter here, right? So that if it does continue past this low, then we're in the clear, right? We're on its way back down to these prior lows, and then once it clears this 130 area, then definitely, we'll probably see further move to the downside. And that doesn't mean that it can't zigzag, right? But I'd be looking for, these lows to break before we have more confidence that price is going to head lower. Otherwise, we would need to clear this prior high here in order to see this move higher. Now, reason why that is a scenario is because, of course, the dollar, right? If we do see moves into the dollar, then dollar CAD is going to move higher, right? Assuming that oil is not going to be influenced over the Canadian dollar, okay? So again, we can look to just measure this out. What's the stops? So you see these, these are 4-hour time frames, and the number of pips here is about 30 pips. We don't need to go for, can we go for a 6-to-1 or a 5-to-1? Yes, we can. But let's see if we can get a 2-to-1 first, and then just manage that trade down if that's what the market wants to do with dollar CAD. Get Canadian stronger and sell off the dollar. But we will see. We'll see. So in the meantime, we can also set this one out. So let's say 3250. Let's see if this is going to give us, let's do 40 pip stop there. Or a 35 pip stop, something like that. Okay. Let's just put the order in. Okay, so let's just put 100. So if we want to make that 2-to-1, then we just make that 70. Kind of adjust that out. All right. Okay, but these are the how you use the tools, right? There's one way how you can use auto UFOs, and 4-hour may not be your time frame, right? You may like to look at things on an hourly time frame, to get even a more refined view of where those sell orders potentially are, right? And so here, you may not need such a wide stop, but then, hey, if your position, risk adjusting, keeping your dollar risk the same and just adjusting your position size, right? Then it doesn't matter how many, it doesn't matter so much, right? From a dollar risk perspective, how far that zone is. You're just giving yourself more room. Now, of course, in order to get that 1-to-1, you're going to have to move 35 pips, right? Or if you're going to get that 2-to-1, now you have to move 70 pips, right? Versus if your risk, was only, say 10 pips, or 20 pips, then it'd only have to move, 10 pips or 20 pips in order to get your 1-to-1, right? So it's a lot lower in order to get your 1-to-1. But of course, in that sort of sense, you have to be very, very precise, right? And you also have to make sure you take account of those spreads, right? To make sure that you're even able to get into that opportunity, given the spreads that you have with your broker, right? Which is why I prefer having the cleanest spreads as possible, and then just pay a commission, because you're paying a commission anyway. They're just building into the spread. So why not just remove one of those parameters and just make sure you get your fill, right, at the price that you want, and just pay commissions, and these days it's pretty, it's not expensive, right? For a standard lot, it's not that expensive. So so stat things in your favor, right? So on the 4-hour, that's what we've got here. Still got some downward pressure. Nothing wrong with taking a small move, right? And then if it is going to give you that longer move, then trade it accordingly, right? Trade accordingly. So, but as you can see here, where we've had strong moves before and it's pulled back, but we've also had strong moves and it's kind of based around before moving higher, right? So we do want to, watch how prices move, right? How prices behave as we enter into as price enters into this opportunity, and if it doesn't play out more like this scenario where it goes up, gets into the our entry point, right, and then moves down, right? If it doesn't do this, then okay, you may want to consider, holding off or closing out that trade, so that you don't get stopped out, or at least uh, have a small profit rather than try and expect to even get that 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 if price is not behaving right in a way that's going to show a change in direction, at least temporarily, right, towards your target. Okay, so so that is the dollar CAD there, the dollar yen. Let me just take these UFOs off first. So we did have, of course, the this strong move in the yen to the downside, right? Or which or dollar yen, I should say, which means there's a strengthening of the yen, right? Indicating some sort of move out of dollar into yen. Maybe in alignment with what was going on with the equities. And so again, we just need to factor that into our expectations, right? And the question is going to be, since we're down at these lows, are we going to continue lower to put in a lower low than this low, right? Or not? So we need to see evidence of prices wanting to move lower, right, as this trend line is indicating, or are we going to have some sort of slightly higher low before a push to the upside? So that is the question. We do have some selling opportunities up here. So it would give credence to potentially some sideways actions, right, for a period of time, unless we really do see strength to the upside, right, through these, with the true change in trend to the upside, with the strengthening of the dollar, is that something we're going to see, or is the strength of the conversion back into yen going to be so strong that we will see a move back into the yen, and therefore a fight going on with with the dollar being strong, right, against other currencies, but weak against the yen, which has happened before. We have seen the yen strengthen, the dollar yen move lower in that sort of sense, while the other currencies, weakened against the dollar, right? So the flow of money, right? We need to accept what it is, right? And observe these flows of funds in and out of the market as they all see fit, right? I mean, the bigger market players are the ones who have the money, and so we need to respect that. Okay, we've got our little accounts, and unfortunately we, at least for most of us, we would not have the sort of funds that some of these guys have um, to move the markets the way that they do, right? So in the meantime, we use technology to our advantage, which is why we have developed auto UFOs and auto climate to help us make those trading decisions a little, a little easier. I mean, we still have to put on the trade, right? We still have to make those decisions, but at least if we know where to put you know, our stops, right? How we can, uh, set our expectations around price, right? At least that helps us, right, to last longer in this game than we would otherwise have, right? And so that we can actually focus. That's the whole idea of technology is we use it so that we can, um, you know, take off, take more time back, on ourselves and be able to, spend more time where it counts, right? Which is not clicking that button, right? Not clicking that button all the time, um, but to see how price is evolving, right? So if we just take off all of these indicators and kind of look at overall price, right? Where it has been going and where it could be moving, right? We do have this sideways, a big sideways move, um, but nevertheless, good moves, right? There have been some good moves that we can profit around, um, but how it's going to evolve, how it's going to move is determined not by us. So we have to make our best efforts, right, to get that perspective, right, of the market, identify where price currently is. What are those influences that could make price continue lower or to trade higher, right? So yes, there is this downward pressure here, right? Clearly there is this downward pressure here. There's no denying what that is, right? There is, parallel lines that we can draw from there, right? Um, there is some potential move that could bring us to the bottom of this channel here, right? That's entirely possible, but until price moves, right? Beyond these lows, right? Now we have a low here, right? Until it moves beyond that low, it's not going to head to the bottom of this channel. And so we're kind of making maybe a bit of a retracing move to the top of this channel. And it's going to have to challenge, if it's going to challenge that and break through to the upside, in order to break that channel, then that's where we get, a potential move, to the upside based on this, this sort of pattern here, right? So, we can't, we can only, map out what the market gives us, and so what is it that you see, you know, is this what you're seeing, right? This sort of move here, right? Is this, uh, you know, what you're seeing here, right? Or and want to trade, right? Or are you looking to, look at the market in this way, right? Where this is moving here and then And then down here, right? Is this your expectation? You know, oops. Try that one again. Okay, could be a hit here. Right. All right. Is this what you're looking at? You know, let's change that to a different color. All right. Is this an expectation that you may have for yourself for where price you'd like to you have an expectation for price to go, right? And so this is the opportunity that is out there, and the question is how are you going to exploit it, right? How you exploit that. All right. So going back to our slides here. Oops. Okay, we do have you know, the training I mentioned coming up at the end of October, so it's the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. Okay, not the 25th. We start on the 26th. So please do come and join us in those sessions. For those of you who are watching the recording, you know, we are keen to make sure that you know, those who are interested in using our technology have as many opportunities as possible to understand fully on how to use them, right? And so that's why we want to spend those 5 days over those 3 hours per day with you, showing you a you know, how we approach using the technology, how to apply it, you know, maybe in your existing strategies, right? Or even if you are new, right? We provide a methodology for which you can you know, form a starting point, right, for you to develop your own methodology and routine. Okay. So that's all I have for you today. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you benefited from our time together today. I will put those opportunities that we looked at into a spreadsheet, and we'll keep track of those, and we'll see how they turn out next week. Right? Until then, do take care. Have a good rest of the week and weekend ahead, and we will catch you next time. All right. Thanks again for joining. Bye for now.